There is a popular saying in organizing circles: another world is possible. It is a rallying cry, a hope, a demand, and at its core, it is an act of imagination. To say another world is possible is to say that the one we're living in is not the only one. It is to dare to believe in what has not yet been seen. Today, we gather to reflect on imagination, not just as daydreaming or as a creative pastime, but as something much deeper, as a practice of salvation, as a lifeline, as resistance, and as holy work. Let me begin with a quote from community organizer Caitlin Johnson. "We are all part of the systems we are trying to dismantle. And if we are not careful, we become the systems too." That particular quote stops me in my tracks every time. It reminds us that we swim in waters we did not choose but cannot ignore. That no one is fully outside the systems of oppression, white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism, heteronormativity. We live in them. We benefit from them, sometimes unknowingly. And if we aren't vigilant and imaginative, we risk becoming them. And so today, I want us to reimagine imagination, not as escapism, but as liberation. Biblical scholar Walter Brueggemann offers us this: it is the vocation of the prophet to keep alive the ministry of imagination, to keep on conjuring and proposing alternative futures to the single one the king wants to urge as the only thinkable one. This quote rings with ancient and modern truth. Brueggemann says that the prophet's job is not prediction, but imagination, not fortune telling, but future telling. The prophet dares to imagine alternatives. They speak out loud to the things we are told are impossible. They disrupt the script that says this is just how it is. Let us be clear, the king is not just a historical monarch. The king is any force that tells us that the world is fixed and unchangeable. The king is the voice of the status quo. The king says, this is how it's always been. Get used to it. But the prophet says, no, this is not all there is. Another world is possible. And friends, if that is not our work as Unitarian Universalists to conjure and propose alternative futures, then what are we doing? Caitlin Johnson reminds us that we are all part of the systems that we are trying to dismantle. This is not a reason for shame, it's a call for humility. It's a call for clarity. The work of liberation is not just out there, marches and policy change and voting in protests. It's also in here, in our habits, our assumptions, our congregations, our relationships. If we are not vigilant, the systems we resist will shape the movements we build. White supremacy does not vanish just because we preach against it. Patriarchy does not evaporate just because we use gender-inclusive language. Classism is not undone by good intentions. And so we must be reflective, and we must be imaginative. How do we imagine being a church where all bodies are honored and safe? How do we imagine a congregation where power is shared and accountability is practiced? How do we imagine an economy that values people more than profit? How do we imagine justice that heals instead of punishes? These questions are not rhetorical. They are the lifeblood of our faith. What does this all look like in practice? Let me offer 3 invitations. Imagination thrives in community. This is why marginalized communities are often centers of creativity and culture, because imagination, when practiced together, becomes contagious. We need artists, organizers, dreamers, elders, and children. We need kitchen table conversations and sanctuary-wide brainstorms. We need to ask each other, what do you dream of? What do you long for? What world would you build if you could? This church can be a laboratory of imagination, a place where we try things, where we risk, where we fail sometimes, but where we never stop daring to envision. Much of the world's oppression is built on false binaries, either or thinking. Either you are safe or you are not. Either you belong or you don't. Either justice or peace, either tradition or change. But imagination invites the both and. It asks, what if there is a third way? What if we can hold complexity and still move forward? What if healing and justice are not separate paths, but intertwined ones? When we imagine beyond binaries, we make room for nuance, for depth, for wholeness. Too often, we keep our boldest dreams to ourselves. We fear they are naive, childish, or unrealistic. But change never comes from the realistic alone. Harriet Tubman imagined freedom and then led people to it. Bayard Rustin imagined peaceful protest and helped shape a movement. Marsha P. Johnson imagined transvisibility long before there was language for it. Greta Thunberg imagined a world that takes climate science seriously. Let us imagine, not in secret, but in public. Let us risk looking foolish for the sake of the future. Imagination is not separate from action. It is the seed of action. What we imagine shapes what we build. If we imagine that safety only comes through walls and weapons, we will build those. If we imagine that scarcity is all there is, we will hoard and fear. If we imagine that only some people matter, we will make policies accordingly. But if we imagine abundance, then we will find ways to share. If we imagine belonging, then we will reshape our communities to include. If we imagine healing, then we will create systems that restore rather than punish. We become what we imagine. This is why imagination is not just a spiritual gift. It is a spiritual responsibility. We are all part of the systems we are trying to dismantle. That truth should humble us, not paralyze us. Because the same systems that shape us are not immutable. They were imagined into existence, and they can be reimagined out of it. And we are the ones to do it. Let us be prophets of possibility. Let us be ministers of imagination. Let us dare to speak to a world not yet born, but aching to arrive. As Brueggemann said, it is the vocation of the prophet to keep alive the ministry of imagination. Let us take up that vocation with courage, with tenderness, with community. Let us imagine boldly, and then let us build what we imagine. May we cause it to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.